You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Stephanie McNeal from the Free to Love podcast. She is a forgiveness coach. You guys, this is going to be a great conversation. I have talked about this before, that I struggle with this for a very, very long time. Forgiveness is... I still got grudges, so I'm going to be blessed by this conversation. I already know. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great, Felicia. Thanks for inviting me here.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm so excited. So can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started on this journey to becoming like a forgiveness coach?
Yes. So I am, a forgiveness coach, podcast host, speaker, and author who is now thriving after experiencing infidelity in marriage and being newly single. In fact, it was the infidelity that shaped, molded, and was the catalyst for the growth, and continues to be the catalyst for the growth in my life. It illuminated my destiny, and now it's my passion and my pleasure to see people bounce back from things like, infidelity, to bounce back from things like childhood sexual abuse, to bounce back from abuse and any other stressful experience, and to forgive those things that hurt you. Because I really believe that forgiveness is necessary for people to live out their God-given purpose. Yeah. And so that's the reason why I help people go from heartbreak to happy. So ultimately that they grow and they have the power and passion to live their best life and be free to love.
Yeah, that is awesome. As I mentioned, forgiveness was a huge thing for me because I felt like I was right in my feeling of feeling wronged, right? And it took me a very long time to realize the energy I was carrying and the energy that I was putting out there because of my unforgiveness, whether it be for myself or it be for other people. And so it definitely caused some issues very early on before I even started this whole Slaying Self-Doubt journey that I didn't realize that was a part of it, right? And so even when you say like forgiveness helps you to be able to walk into your God-given purpose, I'm like, you're absolutely right, because had I not done the steps for me to be able to forgive either myself or other people, I wouldn't have been able to see what was already in me. And so it's a big deal, and it's a daily struggle because it's still some people on my list that I just haven't quite gotten. I'm just like, just a little bit more time, Lord. Just a little
yeah,
bit
I
more
mean,
time.
And what you said, you can be right. Okay, because, like there's all these different definitions about forgiveness, but let me just share my definition because it gets people so hung up. And I believe if they really understand what forgiveness is, they can let go. So it's basically when someone hurts you unjustly, you forgive when you overcome the resentment towards the offender, not by denying your right to the resentment, but instead, okay, hold on, y'all, because I'm going in deep. But instead offering the wrongdoer compassion, benevolence, and love. I know. Let me tell you something. So when we get into talking about doubt, I'll come back and tell you about this compassion, benevolence, and love. But as you give that, you realize that the person doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But for you, as an act of mercy, you give it so you can be free.
Yeah.
Because
that's so true.
When we hold on to it, it ties us to that person.
Yeah, that's all facts right there. Y'all didn't even see, y'all can't see, I'm over here rubbing my head. Like I can just feel the energy. Like it came up like through my feet. Like I was like, she's so right, but I wanted to be so wrong all at the same time. So how has self-doubt showed up in your journey?
Okay, from the beginning. Okay. So how I got here is that, okay, I was experiencing the infidelity. Okay,
Mm,
that's fine. That's one thing. But what happened is my father passed away in 2012.
mm,
And he was an amazing man. He was a community leader. You know, he was suffering with Alzheimer's. And so really when he passed away, it was a gift,
mm. Yeah,
because it had really diminished the man that he was.
yeah.
And so I had really forgotten who my dad was because I was so used to dealing with him as he is
I see. Right. Yeah.
with the Alzheimer's, right? If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense for people to understand. And so when I went to the funeral, I remembered my dad because people were saying all these wonderful things. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, oh, yeah. And so when I got back home, I realized, like, Stephanie, yes, your dad is gone. You took care of him. You did everything you could. But what are you doing with your life?
Mm,
Like, all you're doing with your life is being a victim.
mm.
You are just pitiful, like, for real. And so I took this spiritual development program called Identity and Destiny because I thought once I learn my purpose, I'll
Yeah.
be ready. I'll be set, right?
Yeah.
So I discovered through going through that program that I am a minister of reconciliation called to the masses. Say
Mm.
what? Because I'm bitter.
Yeah.
I was a bitter person.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for my ex-husband's infidelity, but for my daddy's infidelity growing
Yeah.
up. My mother was bitter. Her mother was bitter. So I'm
Mm.
like, God, really?
Yeah.
You calling the most bitter person that I know to be a forgiveness coach to help
Yeah.
people with reconciliation? But when I look back on my life made sense because, oh my gosh, that's why I've always wanted people to get back together. But me, myself, I was trapped.
Mm.
And so, I was like, God, why are you like, I'm sure this is what I'm called to do, but I just didn't, I didn't feel like I should be. Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm the one that needs a coach. I
Right.
don't need to be coaching nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
And so, I was one of those people going out there coaching people, not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the one that they were pointing their fingers out when they said, well, you shouldn't be doing something that you haven't conquered yourself. I didn't want to do it, but
Yeah.
I felt I had no choice to do it. It was something greater than myself was propelling me.
Mm. When I tell you that even in this conversation right now, like you are speaking to me right at this very moment, because the reality is that when you are called to do something, it's not your choice, right? Like you
Yep.
didn't pick it, you don't want it. And generally it's the thing that you struggle with the most. Like it is that
Yes.
thing and that is what connects you to one, to rely solely on him, right?
Yep.
Because you know that in your own strength, I'm not trying to do all that. I don't have
Yep.
that. I do not
Right.
possess those things. How do
Mm-hmm.
you want me to go out here and tell people that they should overcome their forgive, they should forgive, or for me that
Mm-hmm.
they should be able to, acknowledge and overcome their self-doubt and insecurities in order,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm still over here nervous every time I got a podcast or every time I have to post something, or if I create a new product, like, oh Lord, who gonna buy it? Who gonna do this? And they gonna believe it.
Right.
And you
Yes.
go through all of these motions, but he just continues to use people like you and other things to remind me that no, yes, I did call you. And yes,
That's
your
awesome.
your um you know your shortcomings that you may think are shortcomings, or your
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses, is so that so that he is strong, so that you
That's right.
remember it has nothing to do with you. And
It has
so
nothing to do with
yeah, that,
you.
like I said, like that was a whole word for me personally. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Hey, he gets all the glory.
Yes,
He
yes,
gets all the
yes.
glory. Yes.
So as you kind of went through that journey, like, do you know what was like your aha moment that you just was like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. What was
Hmm.
that moment for you that was just like, I'm gonna just have to surrender?
Well, for me, I truly believe that we do best in community.
Yeah.
So I am a part of a community called Church for Entrepreneurs. And
Okay.
that's what we are, a church for entrepreneurs. And they help deal with these types of issues with the self-doubt and all of that. So uh, Amos Johnson, who's the pastor, was doing a teaching about Moses. And what he said was that we need to just, like, all those images that we see about the 10 commandments on TV are just for TV. That is
Yeah.
not what the Bible said. I actually had not read the story of Moses in the Bible myself, but this is the story that Moses was called by God and he did not want to do it.
Nope.
And he gave all kinds of excuses
Yep.
about, I stutter, these people are not going to listen to me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm in good company, right?
Yeah.
And God, and God, but this is the part that I didn't know, that Moses still never did go talk. What happened was Aaron was the one that did the talking.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. And I've said, first of all, I can identify with Moses.
Yeah.
Because I, just like Moses, didn't feel like I was called.
Yeah.
However, God was like, you gonna do this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And for me too, even though I was not getting clients the way that I wanted to, even though my programs and everything that I put out was lackluster, I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. And I never let up.
Yeah.
Like, destiny kept on calling me, because I could feel this conversation I'm having with you right now. I could feel this conversation inside, but it couldn't come out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't come out. I felt it. I knew it was inside, but I couldn't come out. You know, and so what I learned was that, number one, I got to just trust God.
Yeah.
Because he knew all of my shortcomings before he called me. And so this is the thing that keeps me going. Like I said, it was the catalyst. So it's my catalyst to keep going. Number two, I had to accept that. After I trusted him, I got to accept, okay, all right, Lord, you call me to do this. I'm going to do it, because it's not about me.
Yeah.
I kept on trying to make it about me. It's not about me, but what he's called me to do and the people that he's called me to impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
I didn't believe that either until one day, this girl, I was doing this talk at this church. And, you know, I was just talking. I was just starting my talk, and everybody else had sat down, and she was standing up, still like hanging on every word. And it made me uncomfortable. And I said, okay, you can sit down. She says, I was just listening. And I was like, whoa, I just got convicted right then to say, let her have her moment, because I was just talking. But for her, it was whatever I was saying was what she needed, you know, and I needed to just not make it about me. And see, and then number three is I had to receive it. Once I accepted it, I had to receive it as my own. And so once I was able to receive it, now I'm executing it. And so the onus is still off of me. It's what God has called me to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So as you were telling that story about Moses, I'm like over here looking it up, because I was like, there's another part to this story that she's talking about. And in this scripture that I was like, I knew the story because I've heard it several times. But one of the things that I remember, I went and looked it up. It's in Exodus 4, that the Lord asked him, what is in your hand? And he said, a shepherd's staff. And he used that staff over and over and over again to show him every single thing that you're afraid of. It's already in your hand. And I remember my pastor, actually, Pastor Keith Battle at Zion Church here in Landover, Maryland, him preaching about it and saying that it's already in your hand. What you're looking for is you already have it. I like this. What you need, you already possess it. And so the thing that we are looking for to give us like confirmation that this is exactly what it is that we're supposed to be doing, we're already holding it. And it also made me think of another scripture. It's Judges 6:14. I have it written like everywhere in my house somewhere, and it says, go with the strength you have. I'm sent. And so I'm always like, that's why I said when I have these conversations and I'm doing these podcasts, it's always a reminder that like, this isn't about you. It's not about what you think that you possess, because you don't possess anything. I'm giving you the tool. Your mouth is my tool. I'm pouring into you so that you can then give it to the people who need to hear it, because there's somebody assigned to you. And so if we don't do what we're supposed to do, the person who's assigned to you, who needs that forgiveness in order to be able to break free, will not get it if you don't use what's in
Right.
your hand. And the person who needs to break
Yeah.
free from their insecurities and their doubts and that anxiety will not be able to use what's in their hands. So
That's right.
that's
Girl,
confirmation number
girl, you
2 for
about to
me this
have,
week. Okay.
wait, first of all, I'm about to shout on what you just said, because it further like it empowers me to know that, if I don't do it, it really is not about me. It's
Yeah.
about the people. And it's like, it puts the fear of God in you. Like, if you don't do this, you're holding somebody else up.
Yes. That exactly, that right there. And
Yeah.
I don't want that pressure. Like, I don't want the pressure of holding somebody, even more importantly than holding somebody else up. But I don't even want the pressure of knowing that God has given me something. And, as I'm, I keep saying transitioning, but I'll be 40 in like 2 months. And so it's like this, I don't know, I feel like I've had like grown up a little bit more. It doesn't seem like it, even in the midst of this whole like pandemic or whatever have you, like, when it comes, I feel like I'm in a different place, and I can feel the leveling uppingness. That's not a word, but I'm gonna make it a word today. And so it's just like, God is like, okay, I'm not gonna keep playing with you. And so even when you said, Moses didn't want to do it and he gave it to Aaron, I was like, I don't want Aaron coming to get my stuff.
That's right. That's right. Because if he don't use you, he'll use someone else, because his
Yes.
purposes will stand.
Yes, absolutely. And so when like I said, this conversation was meant for me. These other people just listening.
No, it's meant for us.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, it's meant for us, because here's the thing that people get tied up with, and I did too, is the execution. We keep wanting to know how it's going to be and how it's going to happen. No,
Yes.
we need to stop leaning on our own understanding. That's why, in Proverbs 3, it says, trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. So when we don't execute, we're leaning to our own understanding.
Yeah.
So we're trying to rely upon ourselves to make it happen. Because the Lord told me a long time ago, I just want you to speaking right. And I'm like, but I need to make some money, Lord. No, I don't even know what he would have given me or how he would have provided for me, because I didn't do what he told me to do.
Yes. Yeah. You are so, oh man, that is so true. Like, yes, if y'all, I'm telling y'all, this is confirmation for whoever needs to hear it. If you're not sure if it's confirmation, this is absolute confirmation right now, and whatever it is that God has been putting on you. Because for me right now, like, that was all of the things that you're saying is just like reaffirming the things that ultimately that we already know, right? It's stuff that we already know, but the
Yes.
reason why I do these podcasts and to be able to connect with other women who have gone through their own journey, but the result is still the same. It's all the same thing. Trust God, accept what he's giving you, receive it, and execute it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't get any more simpler than that. Like, we make it harder than it needs to be, right? Like,
Absolutely.
it just, yeah, yes. So what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
What have I learned by now? I don't give myself credit enough, because when you go through something like infidelity, and it was throughout a 24-year marriage, I really lost who I am.
Yeah.
So I had to reclaim myself. And before, I was married, I used to be just a real bold person. I've always had a bold personality, right? But if you're bold and angry, that's not a good mix.
Yeah.
So I hurt a lot of people. I hurt myself. I hurt my children. And so now it's just really learning how to go forth boldly in the Lord, because the word says the righteous are as bold as a lion. so I gotta be, bold, but I gotta be wise as well.
Yeah.
And so just really learning to trust the Holy Spirit that lives inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Had to learn that, and learn that when I hear that, like that little at the end, you'll be
Yeah.
going out the house and get an umbrella. Be like, no, I don't need no umbrella. That's the Holy Spirit
Yeah.
telling you where
Yeah.
you're going. It's
Yeah.
gonna rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trusting that I can hear God, because what'll happen when you are in an abusive situation, it really attacks your trust in yourself, of your own
Mm-hmm.
judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that happens is that you end up not trusting yourself because you tell yourself lies. Like you say that you're going to do something and then you do it or you don't do it. And it's like, whoa, I lied to myself.
Yeah.
So am I really okay? Can I really make a decision? So it's just like really relearning who I am. And so now I said I'm newly single, not even relearning, learning who I am, knowing I'm 54 years old, I'm dating again, I'm not 25.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who am I now?
Yeah. And
You
when
know,
even on top of that, like knowing the things that you need, knowing the things that you like, your boundaries,
mm-hmm,
your like what you know what you, like you said, knowing who you are now, so you know what you will, quote unquote, like tolerate, what it is that you will
mm-hmm,
be able to be. And I think that, like you said, that you're going to have different shifts in your life regardless of what it is that you're going through, and you have to be in tune with yourself and have some type of self-awareness, because the
mm-hmm.
other part is everybody can't go with you on this journey as well. So
That's
depending on
right.
what your situation is, some people got to go. And if
Yeah.
that is the eliminate and delegate part of your life, right? You got to
And
eliminate.
that for me is so hard because I know a reason, a season. Part of part of the unforgiveness, the bitter part of me that I learned over my life, you learn how to hold on to things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you'll hold on to things that are weighing you down.
Yeah.
And for me, one of my highest values is relationships. So
Mm.
letting go of relationships, friends,
Yeah.
people, like that's really difficult for me, but I'm learning how to do that
Yeah.
and how you can let them go and still love them.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So that's going to take us into the next question, is about forgiveness, like whether it be whether it be in forgiving another person, for relationship, whether it's like an intimate relationship, family, parents, your children, yourself, whatever the dynamic, coworkers, your boss,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever the case may be. How do we What are some practical steps that we can implement if there's somebody out here who's ready to forgive?
Okay. Well, I want to go back to the definition because, like I said, it is one of the most I can't even think of the word, uh, misconstrued
Yeah.
definitions. Okay, so I want to break down the definition.
Okay.
Okay, so unforgiveness or forgiveness, it acknowledges that whatever happened to you was unfair and will always be unfair.
Mm.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, you do have a moral right to your anger. And it is fair to have the view that people do not have a right to hurt you.
Mm.
And see, I think a lot of times people don't want to be vulnerable to
Mm-hmm.
say, what you did to me hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So you lie to yourself, like I'm saying, those lies you tell yourself,
Yeah.
you lie to yourself, that didn't hurt.
Yeah. Mm.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Because you get to have feelings, and even men, I think women are too, but men
Mm-hmm.
especially,
Mm-hmm.
they don't get to say something hurt them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that men don't hurt. I have another
That's a
coach,
whole
she
lie.
has a exactly she has a whole movement out, men hurt too. It's
Yeah.
like, just giving men the permission to say this happened and this hurt me, but we're okay with them saying it made me angry,
Mm.
but we
Wow.
can't say it hurt. because
Yeah.
we don't want to be vulnerable and we don't want to be transparent, but you have to in order to be able to let these things go. And then thirdly, forgiveness requires that you give up something that you really have a right to. You
Mm.
really have a right to be angry. You have a right to be resentful. You have a right to be bitter, but it's not going to serve you. So you need to let it go. And I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like you say, it's a daily.
it's a daily thing. No, and I think that when you say like that the permission to hurt, even when you read it the first time, you know, the last part is the part that got me. It was like, yeah, I got a right to be hurt and I got a right to, but sometimes you're right. There's things that happen that we don't give ourselves permission to say that hurt my feelings. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big thing, right? It could be
Mm-hmm.
something that somebody did, you know, something somebody said. It may not have been intentional, but if it hurt your feelings and it affected you, you have to be able to acknowledge that, right? And then if a
Exactly.
conversation is necessary to then repeat that, then maybe forgiveness has to come play a factor. But I think that exactly what you're saying, like having that awareness that things will hurt you unintentionally and intentionally, but you have to know that and be in tune with yourself to be able to say, man, that did bother me. You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
quick to shake stuff off like, oh, you know, whatever, like I'm not tripping, or it's not a big deal, like,
Mm-hmm.
or in the forgiveness you take the onus off the other person. Well, they didn't mean it like that, right?
Yeah,
And
no.
you take it off of them, and then you it's almost like you
Your own
minimize your
self.
trauma, right? Like you
Yeah.
minimize your own self and say, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, so I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to make mention of it. But if you
Yeah.
give yourself that space to be able to do it, then you don't even have to prolong the bitterness, because sometimes some of the hurt
Exactly.
isn't even attached to the person who actually did it. It's because people before them did some other stuff and they
That's
caught you
right.
on the wrong day.
That's right.
And you did it that one last time that broke the camel's back, and
That's
then you
right.
like,
Because you got all this stuff built up. That's what I think road rage is.
I
You know,
agree.
it's like, it's not the fact, because, like, dang, people make mistakes. Haven't you accidentally cut somebody off?
Yes.
But dang, it's not, because I know somebody right now today, they are mad at their husband, but they take it out on everybody else and they
Mm,
don't say nothing to their husband
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and that's the like I've seen that too, where you know that someone's going through something and they're projecting, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
projecting out on everybody else. And it's just like, okay, this has nothing to do with them, but you're taking it out on us. And you don't realize, like what you said earlier, that like in that, you know, bitterness, or in that just kind of space that you're in, you don't really realize how many people you're bleeding all over,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
and I saw a post a while ago that said, I think it might have been unforgiveness or something like that, or bitterness or something, but it was just uh like basically something to the effect of like you bleeding over other people who didn't cut you, without you having
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge the hurt that you have is like it's seeping out on all these other people, and they only had nothing to do with what
Yep.
it is that's even causing it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so we went back to the definition of forgiveness and really breaking that down. I think that's important because a lot of times we just chalk it up to letting it go, with my air quotes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's also not forgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
these are actionable steps, I would assume, that you have to take in
Yeah.
order to get to that place. What would be
Well,
like two?
my I have 8 steps.
Okay.
Okay, it's a whole process. It's based on research from the University of Wisconsin, the Institute of Forgiveness. But I've kind of taken, their process and added in the scripture, because I just believe, that that's where we get the power from the word.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 8 stages. It's like debut, that's the beginning. So,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when a person decides that they want to deal with forgiveness, it's something that has been going on for a while. So they have to have an introduction. And then there's the dredging, which
Mm.
means to clean out the bed of a body of water. But you gotta we hold all of these, we hold unforgiveness in our hearts, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
gotta dig up that hardness,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, people get divorced because of the hardness of the heart. So we have to, dig out and make that heart a little more softer. And then decision. Okay. I say all the time, forgiveness is a choice, and then the journey begins. So you got to make a decision to forgive. And then once you make that decision, you got to commit, because it's going to be not the easier thing. It's not going to be necessarily a cakewalk. And so that's why step 4 is the digging. That's when you're cultivating the ground, you're plowing it, you're breaking up, and you're breaking up like all of the stuff that happened. And you have to uncover these things.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, because I had started writing my book before the pandemic started, and I had to take a break because I started digging up that stuff. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I have gone through my forgiveness process, but writing a book and reliving it is something else.
Yeah.
And I just had to take a break. And then step 5 is discovery. That's where you're discovering, like, oh, that's why I did this. Oh, that's why he did that. Oh, that's why that happened. You're looking at that. And then after you discover it, what do you got to do next? And step 6, you got to let it go. Discharging. That's when you're letting things go. You're starting to let things go. And then step 7 is demonstration. That's when you're confirming, you're validating, you're proofing. You get to all the stuff that you learn, you start to walk it out. You got to demonstrate it, because forgiveness, you uncover it in layers, but the only way that you can tell whether or not you've forgiven is when you walk it out. And then the last step is step 8, which is destiny. And that's, I believe that's this part that, people want to start a business, they want to start a ministry, they want to start something, but they haven't done the work. And they wonder why I can't get past this level. That's because you got something. And I know for me, it was, God told me, if you don't forgive this man, that is going to stop your destiny. And when I tell you, I constantly get challenged earlier in this week, and it's like, I gotta let it go, because, we still have children at home and still decisions to be made. And it is a conscious daily choice to forgive. Because once you start living this lifestyle, you continue, and you'll start to uncover, oh snap, I forgot I didn't forgive that. Oh, I forgot about that happened. But we heal on levels. And so as we're ready, because I say all the time too, if God brought you to it, it's time. And so when you get to it, it's time.
I think that's a huge, I loved every single one of those steps. I think that like going through the process and just really understanding that the process has to be done. You can't skip any steps, because a lot of times we want to just get to the destination, right? And you be like, oh, okay, I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that after I do this. And I'm learning in this is that you can't skip steps. If God told you to do this, that is what you're supposed to do. And if you are out of order with him, nothing else will work. It will not go the way you want it to, because you're not even doing it the way you're supposed to. And it also, I think when we talk about forgiveness and what's interesting is that, like I said, I dealt with it for a very long time, because that part about giving up, it was that part was just like, they win, right? That was what was in my mind. They win if I forgive them. And it has nothing to do with that, because, what I had started to realize is that it was during one of my small groups that we were talking about this whole thing of forgiveness, and it came up, and I was, at the time, this was a couple of years ago, but I was like, yeah, I got people on the list. I was like, I got somebody that's been on my list. I was like, well, what year is this? And I was like, oh, it's been 20 years. And then they were like, well, what happened?
Do you remember? Don't even remember.
I can't remember. I was like, hold on, give me a second. Then I thought about it, and I was just like, well, now I do remember, but I don't even care anymore. You know what I mean? So, but why am I still holding on to that? Why am I still like, and then it was just like, it was almost like, for me at that moment, I felt like it was a badge of honor to be like, yeah, I don't like this person. And it was just like, well, this is dumb, because they've gone on with their life. I've gone on with my life, but I'm still holding on to this. And I read Sarah Jakes Roberts' book, Don't Settle for Safe. And so
Mm-hmm.
in that book, she has a chapter about forgiveness, and she had this like forgiveness letter where you like insert the person's name. And so
Mm.
after that conversation, I actually took, I went through the whole process of like, okay, who are these people that I need to forgive, like for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
why am I? And it was for me, it was a question of, do I need to have a conversation with them, or do I just need to take the forgiveness off my heart? So the people that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to take the forgiveness off my heart, I wrote the letter and then I burned it. And then I
Mm.
moved on with my life. And now it was so freeing to
Yeah.
not like intentionally hold on to that. And the people I needed to have conversations with, I had those conversations and they also were freeing because it allowed me to be
Mm.
able to tell my truth and how
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling even 15 years ago. It was like, well, let me just
Right.
tell you what it was. And come to find out, they were all misunderstandings because we both were going through
See?
something, you know.
Exactly. But I tell you, I mean, if I could teach society one thing, and I'm included, we feel uncomfortable dealing with conflict.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
it's I mean, it's so much easier rather than go to the person to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
And going to somebody else is not going to do a thing but keep you connected. And I mean, because we're not supposed to go let the sun go down on our wrath, right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
other part is that neither give place to the devil. So when you go to that other person, you're giving place to the devil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, these are yeah. It really is one of those things where like we both say that it's a daily thing. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna be something that immediately you're like, oh yeah, I forgive you. There's some people that do it and maybe because they've been through some things and they know, like now I'm in a place where I can say if something has happened, I can address it. If it needs to be talked about, I will talk about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I know the forgiveness is for me, right? And so it's not
Absolutely.
for the other person. But in order for me to be at peace, I can't carry your book bag around because
That's
it's
right.
weighing, like you said, it's weighing me down. And you're just you don't even care. You don't even know that I don't. That's the other part. Like we carry this
Mm-hmm.
unforgiveness. The person don't even know you don't forgive them, and they've moved on unless there's you're especially if the relationship has kind of like separated a little bit, right? Like if it's a friend or something and y'all just kind of fell, or even not, like we hold on to things in relationships out of whether it's convenience, out of habit, out of uh loyalty, right? And you could have this underlining like thing that y'all
Mm-hmm.
both just need to have a conversation and just
Right.
free yourselves.
Right. Because another thing that happens is that it'll be a lot of little things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've had that to happen recently. There was a lot of little things that I didn't address,
Yeah.
and then it happened one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, it happened one more time. I'm
Right.
gonna have to check you, boo, on this time. You know,
And then
and
they
it's
like,
like,
well, what's
why?
wrong? Right.
Yeah, man. But awareness is the
Yeah.
first step. At least you have to be aware of these things, and then you have the power to do something about it.
Yeah, that's good. So do you feel like, so one last question, do you feel like that I think that for us, right? Like I feel like we're in a place where we have enough self-awareness. For that person who is not yet ready to forgive, what advice would you have for them to even get to that place of awareness? Like some people
Yeah.
are just like, I'm not, the wall is up, I'm not doing it. You can
Mm-hmm.
miss me with that, whatever, So what would be your advice to them?
And I'll tell you, this is one of the most frustrating parts of my job is getting people to admit to themselves that they have a problem with unforgiveness. Because
Yes.
I mean, I've had women to be in my program, enrolled in the program. I don't have a problem with forgiveness, and those are the ones that had the biggest breakthroughs.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a litmus test, and I am in the process of developing a quiz. So you can take a quiz and you can see where you are on the scale.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that's good. Right.
But a really quick and easy litmus test is think about the thing that you are, okay. If you still have negative thoughts, feelings, or actions towards the person, the place, the thing, or what happened, that means that you have work to do. That's real simple.
Yeah, that is very simple. Yeah, yeah. And so I would just say that I would definitely agree with that, because a lot of times when you say that people say they don't have an issue with forgiveness, it's because they've lied to themselves for so long that they're kind of numb to it, right? And they haven't really, and then a lot of times we assume it has to be big things. Well,
Right.
I didn't necessarily, I didn't get it. There was no infidelity, or there wasn't, nobody took anything from me. I still have this. Like, they didn't lie. They didn't do, like, you're looking for the big things, right?
Right.
And sometimes, like you said, it's little stuff that you like, that person says something negative about you, or you were looking for a certain type of support and they didn't give it to you in the way you wanted it to. And so now you have something that is something in you that you have to feel. So I think definitely saying thoughts, feelings, and actions, negative thoughts, feelings, and actions, those are specifics, because you may not say it, you may feel it. And so that makes a huge difference. Thank you so much, Stephanie. This was such a great conversation.
This was awesome. I'm
so
like,
how can
I
people
hang out with you?
Yes.
Yes.
So how can people connect with you?
The best place is my website, freedtolove.com. That's FREED, the number 2 love.com. They can find a link to my podcast. They can find a link to my membership group. It's called Together She Rises. It is a community of women patterned like a lioness's pride, which, we're lion queens, and we grow together.
Yeah.
We love each other. We support, no judgment zone. We heal. And it's just a very supportive community as you're walking through your forgiveness process. And as well, there's some free resources on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I really hope that whoever's listening to this, that this has been at least a starting point to get you to the place where you need to forgive. And another resource or another tool to be able to help you to just like get to where it is. We both have the same common goal in mind, is to guide you, help you, walk with you into your God-given purpose. And so there's some things that you have to be able to break through, you have to be able to acknowledge in order to actually do that. So we y'all might have to get in with the both of us. So y'all get some work to do to get on this other side now.
That's right. It's awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We end every episode with the serenity prayer, and it goes as follows. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.